Hey, Shalom, Shalom. This is your brother Yashimai from the GMS Atlanta camp. And before I get into this message, I want to start off by giving all praises, all glory, and all honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach Kadash. And I want to send double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who moon teach well, who were used as the vessels through the spirit of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, to be teachers of the true Hebrew Israelite movement. Now, I take that back. It's not a movement. It's our heritage. These were the vessels that were used by the Most High to show us, and when I say us, I'm speaking to the so-called blacks, so-called natives, and so-called Hispanics, who we really are. We're not just gangbangers. We're not just drug dealers, and we're not just totem pole worshipers. We are a fallen nation. So this lesson is going to be focusing on two verses, Daniel 7, verse 8 and 20. And I've done videos on, the four beasts, which are the same ones mentioned in Daniel 2, minus the Assyrian, which isn't mentioned in Daniel 2, but this one's going to get into the three horns. Now, just as a preface, when I first came into the truth, one thing that I would hear some of the younger brothers is they would say, they will say that they get confused between the horns because, which we're going to go over here now. They would say, I kind of get confused between the horns here because there's 10 horns. And then there's 3 horns here, and then there's 10 toes, and there's 10 horns in the book of Revelations. And like when you first hear it, it kind of can seem confusing, but I think we kind of complicate things more than they should. So this is going to be getting into the 3 horns, okay? So this is Daniel 7. Let's start at verse 7. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. So this fourth beast is the ancient Roman Empire, and it says that it was it talks about its iron teeth because its military was far superior than the Greeks that had ruled prior to them. And furthermore, it states that it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it. And the reason that the Roman Empire was diverse from the Assyrians and the Babylonians and the Medo-Persian and the Greeks was because those 3 kingdoms, or those 3 kingdoms, they were all monarchies. But Rome was when Rome came on the scene, they introduced the Senate. I may be a little off here, but it's Romanus Quas Senatus Publicus, RQPS. You brothers can look that up, but it's basically stands for the Senate, for the Roman Public's Senate. And that's what made them different. All the other ones, they were kings that ruled, and the Romans had voting rights into the Senate. So that's how it was diverse. Okay, but let's go on to verse 8. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn. Okay, so here we see horns, and then another little horn that comes up, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. Okay, and behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. And then we're going to jump down. We're going to jump down to 20 because it's still talking about the same horns that were on this fourth beast, okay? So in this red beast, well, in this beast here, which would turn out to be the red beast in the book of Revelations. This beast here had 10 horns, right? But from those 10 horns, it said 3 of them fell before one of them. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and say this. The 3 that fell before the 1, the 3 are the French, the Spaniards, and the British. Those are the 3 that fell before the 1. Who is the 1? The 1 is Babylon, America. And the reason that we know this is because when you pull up these maps, it's talking about the land of Babylon. See, when the land of Babylon, before it became modern day America, there was 3 empires. And those 3 empires were the Spaniards. Now the Spaniards came here first, right? The Spaniards conquered the Aztec Empire in the year 1519. But Christopher Colon, also known as Christopher Columbus, had discovered the Americas, starting from Hispaniola, which is, modern day Cuba, and then, went through South America, Peru, Argentina, where the Incas were, and then he worked his way up into Mexico City, and, that's where he took out the Aztec Empire, and ultimately Spain built their capital in Mexico City. Okay, so Spain was the first of the 3 horns, because, again, those 3 horns are right here: French, the British, and the Spaniards. All right, and the reason that these 3 horns were plucked up from the root. Matter of fact, let me just go ahead and pull that back up just so that you guys can see it. It says, "Before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots." How were they plucked up by the roots? Because although there was 3 empires that you can see on this map here, these 3 horns, which represent kings, these 3 horns were pulled up from the roots by who? By Babylon. What would be the American Empire, right? So the 3 are the French, the British, the Spaniards, and the one whom they were plucked up before is America. Now, I'm going to go back to this history here because this history is important. So the Spaniards got here first, okay? Once the Spaniards heard about this, soon came the French, okay? And then the French, and then the British, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and pull up my notes here. Matter of fact, no. Let's continue getting the scripture, and then I'll get onto the notes here. Verse 20. And of the 10 horns that were in his head. Now, what are these 10 horns? These 10 horns are now, they are NATO, right? Now they are the part of the beast system that give that bow their knee to the agenda of the big horn, which is America. They bow their knee and they follow whatever America says. Why? Because even though they are all part of the same beast system, ultimately, where is NATO? Where do the NATO countries meet? Well, they meet in New York, America. And ultimately, who is the deciding vote factor? It's America. Okay, so it says, and of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell. Again, those 3 are the French, the British, and the Spanish. It says, even of the horn that had eyes and a mouth that spoke very great things, whose look was more stout than its fellow. It says that mouth spoke very great things, which what scripture comes to mind? Obadiah going into the pride, saying that he's going to make his bed with the stars of the Most High. It brings up the book of Thessalonians. I will sit in the temple of the Most High. And then it also brings up the book of Revelations, where it says blasphemy was written on his head. And brothers can forgive me for not pulling up these scriptures, because I'm in an area where I don't have the best signal, so I don't want to get out of that map. But it's going into the pride of America. You know, that's why it says, in a mouth that spoke very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellow. How was his look more stout than his fellows? Was because he overcame his fellows. And his fellows were those three empires. So now, let's get some notes here, okay? So, New Spain, which was the name of the territories that the Spaniards got, started ruling from 1519 to 1820. Okay, and 1519 is when they conquered the Aztecs. All right, it's important, it's important to know that Spain was the first of the three to come to the Americas. You know, starting from Hispaniola. After that came France, and called New France. And the way that New France came was they came from a town in France called Dieppe, Diappe, Dieppe. And so the name of that explorer started with a V. Verranzo. Yeah, there you go. Verranzo. So this guy, he left Dieppe, and what he did was he sailed along the South Carolinas, okay, and then he went up the South Carolinas into modern day New York, and then from there they continued on to a body of water, which is now modern day Canada, and they settled around the Pottawash tribe. See, one thing about these French bastards, man, because again, they're all Edomites too, man. But one thing about these French bastards is that when they got here, they kept dying. Yeah, the winters were too harsh for them. They didn't know how to plant their fields. Get this, and I'm sure that some brothers may be reading some of these notes, but when they got here, I think I've got it written down here. It says right here. Let me see. Boom. Sale for animals. So when they got here, there was already Algonquian and the Iroquoian natives. So the last 10 tribes were already in North America. That's why nowadays in the land of Canada you have names of land like Saskatchewan. You have different names that have what's referred to as Native American backgrounds, and then you also have like French towns, Quebec, Montreal. You know, that's because the French settled there, man. But when the French got here, there was it's a well-known fact that the so-called natives were already here. And so what these French bastards did is they couldn't survive, so they relied on the natives to show them how to plant their fields, they showed them how to hunt, and they actually turned their exploration into a very profitable business for the French Empire through the selling of beaver skins and fur. And I want to point this out. The French had to come to North America. The French had to come, and so did the British, because, you know, Britain is known as the pit, right? There's nothing there. So they had to come. They had to come because they didn't have any more jobs, right? It was basically for their survival. But staying on track with the French here, man, is when they came over, they would tell their people to link up with the natives, so-called natives, so that they could survive the winters, man. And so King Louis the 14th, you know, he's the king of the French, man. He starts these government incentives because, you know, he wants people, once they see that there's a lot of fur coats and, you know, beaver skins that they can make money off of, he wants to send more French people to colonize North America. And so he starts incentives like paying for your travels. He starts sending beautiful, virtuous women so that men can can go over there and get married. They start paying for the dowries of these women, which, is kind of reminiscent because we see that nowadays, We see that, we see the same system here where they'll, people will get paid to live in Alaska, and the reason I bring that up is because, it reminds me of the book of Ecclesiastes. There's nothing new under the sun, man. They're still operating in that same spirit, man. But the French, they basically kept getting pillaged, man. They kept getting pillaged by the British, and their downfall was during what's known as the 7 Years' War. And the 7 Years' War is when they went out of power, which was ended in 1763. And at the end of 1763, what ended up happening? All this yellow land that was controlled by France was split between the British Empire and the Spanish Empire. So the Spanish got up until Louisiana, and they went all the way up to Mississippi. And then the other territories were given onto the British Empire. Okay, so the French Empire was the first to fall in North America, and their lands were divvied up between the two. So this is so here we see the first horn fallen. We see the first horn being pulled up from its roots. Now let's get into the British Empire. Let me see here. British, right? Yeah. So I mentioned that the British needed to find the new world because the pit was dragging their people down. One thing that I forgot to mention. Well, no, we'll get to that. So the British sent 17,000 people towards modern day Jamestown over there near Virginia. And out of those 17,000 people, man, only 350 of them would survive the winters. I'm telling you, these people were dying like the fucking swine that they are. How did they make it? They were only able to survive because our people were helping them plant. We were showing them about irrigation. We were showing them, about the kind of clothes and housing to have, how to winterize their meat. We were showing them all these things, man. To our downfall, really, too, man. That's why, just on a quick side note, man, it's very important, man. For us fathers who have daughters, it's very important that we do all possible to try to keep our women within the brotherhood, man, because the last thing you want is for family members to be given offspring of these devils, man, because look at how they repaid us. These fuckers were dying. Our people helped them out, and in turn, they were ravaged by them. Okay? So one thing about the English, the British, is they originally were sent here to find gold, but instead of finding gold, they found tobacco. And that tobacco proved to be very profitable. Tobacco and cotton was how they made their money. And who was doing the work for them? Israelites, the Southern Kingdom, through the transatlantic slave trade, and even some of the 10 tribes. Were they would use the so-called natives to pick their tobacco, man. So I just wanted to point out that when the British left the pit looking for gold, they couldn't find the fucking gold, man. Like, the Most High had a zeal on these fuckers, just like it's spoken about in Revelation 20. Matter of fact, let's do that. Let's get that Revelation 20, and then we'll come back to Daniel 7. Revelation 20, verse 3. And cast him is Esau, him is the devil, and cast him into the bottomless pit, which is Europe, and shut him up and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that he must be loosed a little season. Now those, we know those 1,000 years is talking about the Byzantine Empire when they were out of control, but the Most High put a zeal on these bastards where nobody was paying attention to them, and they couldn't prosper in anything that they were doing. They couldn't find gold, but you know, they found their tobacco. But going on, you know, we should all know the story about the British Empire. You know, Americans seceded the British Empire, and then started with the 13 colonies. One very important thing that I did want to know, just to show you of how easily the French were taken out by the British, is that in 1660 there was 24,000 British colonizers here in America, and that was 8 times the size of the French, man. 8 times. Because at that time the French only had about 3,000 people here, man. So the French got their ass handed to them, man. But look, that's pretty much it, man. I know it may not be spectacular, but these are things that we should know. So within those 10 horns, all right, which we know are the modern day NATO nations, right? And those 10 horns, which are part of the beast system, 3 of those, let's go ahead and get that. I've got it saved on my notes, but I feel it's more proper for me to pull it up on the Bible app. Verse 8, I consider the horns. So again, there's 10 horns. And behold, there came up among them another little horn. So who is this little horn? Before whom there were 3. The first horns plucked up by the roots. So again, the little horn that comes up is America. Because ultimately, this map that had the French, the British, and the Spaniards would be overtaken and plucked out, and America would get all of that land, right? So now, as we read the scripture, now it's beginning to make more sense, and we can understand it just by learning a little bit of history. So again, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3. The first horns plucked up by the roots, and behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. This is America. Obadiah, 1 Thessalonians 2:5. Salakia, if I'm not calling them outright. Verse 20, and of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, these 3 is going back to the French, the British, and the Spaniards. Even of that horn that had eyes and a mouth, who spoke very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. Again, whose look was more stout than his fellow was America, because they were able to overcome these other kingdoms. And then furthermore, in 24, it breaks it down somewhat for you. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise. Okay? And another shall arise after them. Who is that other? It's America. And he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. Like, you see how beautiful that lines up, man? So, that's pretty much it, man. I hope this lesson has been edifying. Again, I want to give all praises, all glory, and all honor to Yahweh, B'Hashem Yahweh Shai. And I want to send double honor to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, because it's through them who the Most High has used as vessels to be able to teach us our heritage and shown us the way on how to go into these breakdowns, man. Because it's one thing for us to just hear them and watch a video and take the prophets for their word, which that goes into your faith too. But when you actually go back and you look into the history, it's like, oh damn, that's it. So, which is, it's more edifying for you. So with that, I say shalom.